Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Winter is Blooming, a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast by us, the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we are discussing Season 3, Episode 5, Kissed by Fire, written by Brian Cogman, the Cogman, and directed by Alex Graves, KC Moboy. So, I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And another goodie. We got back-to-back goodies directed by Alex Graves here. These were a couple great episodes in a row, if I'm being for real with you. And this one did not let up. It was some big moments that you don't realize are happening now, but they're happening, and you're like, oh shit, okay, bet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, another one that's going to be tough to assign some favorites to. I was going back and forth. I'm trying to spread the love as much as I can this episode, but wow, I think we're going to run into this problem a lot coming up here. You know, I think for the big episodes, the scene and stuff is going to be pretty easy, but like for these episodes that are just the normal average episode where you check in with so many different people, it's going to just, I don't know, it's really hard to really, like, usually the favorites can almost cover an entire episode sometimes, like for a Mando episode or for, I don't know, just for any other episode that we'll cover, usually the favorites kind of cover everything. But in this case, it's like there's a lot just left off the board. Every time.
I was like, we kept switching scenes and I kept being like, oh no, but that was going to be my favorite. Oh no, now this is my favorite. Shit, I don't know how I'm going to be able to show all of this love. And
I had it open while I was watching.
Fucking good.
And it was updating constantly. It was like, oh, okay, performance without a doubt. There's no way anyone goes better than that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, wait, never mind. And then it's going. It was just a back and forth, but
a mile a minute. But what do you say we dig into it? We got 7 locations here, and according to you, you got some trivia that'll make it 6 for me, so I'm ready for that. But we will begin beyond the wall, where Jon Snow is with a group of about 20 wildlings under the command of Tormund Giantsbane, and they're sent there by Mance Rayder to scale wall and attack Castle Black. And Jon and Ygritte are gathering some firewood, and the warg is like, so, what the fuck's going on with the Night's Watch? How much they got going on? He's like, I've seen that there's a bunch of patrols on top of the wall, and I want to know how frequent they are, how many there are, what we're doing. And Jon says, they usually send out patrols in teams of 4, 2 builders to inspect for structural damage, and 2 rangers to protect. Frequency is not very solid, and he's like, yeah, so I know there's 19 castles. I want to know how many of them are manned. Jon's like,
yeah, he's going back and forth here. He's like, man, do I keep snitching? He's like, I've already said a lot, but like, well, he's like, I don't know. He makes his mind up, I don't know. I can't really tell. Is 1,000 men? Is that true?
No, they don't have 1,000 men.
Not even close. Yeah, that's.
I think they have like a couple hundred.
Yeah, and was it?
And that was
close?
Before.
Like to 100, or maybe was it close to 1,000 before that? The White Walker.
If I remember correctly, it was like 600, and they've been cut in like
still
half.
Not even. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So
he's lying.
Bad.
So he's still pulling for them a little bit.
I don't know how truthful he's being about there being 3-man towers, because, and even if there are, it's like barely. Like they do not have as many men as Castle Black.
It's just Castle Black. Maybe there's people staying there at those.
But it's like a few of them. They can't hold it against anybody. because if I remember correctly, when we go to like Eastwatch by the Sea later in the show, it's like 12 dudes. Like there's like nobody there.
Yeah, it is interesting that he is introduced to a warg that can go and see these things. You know, I guess because he calls him a liar immediately. The warg, he's like, no shot. He's like, you're lying. There's no way there's 1,000 men. Like, I think he like kind of. I think
he's kind of testing them. Yeah,
they know, or at least I don't know. Maybe how much do they trust the wargs? You know, I guess maybe is this because if they trust the wargs 100%, then this would just be a test on John, and they know he's lying right away.
Right.
Unless they can't go past. Has he never gone past the wall? Like, how far does his warging?
Yeah, I wonder if like there's like a warg.
I guess the wall's pretty
range.
magical. Maybe like it's like, you know, a bird. It just flies into a window. You know, like right when it hits the wall, just boop in the mind. Like you can't go past it, sort of thing.
And you know, maybe Brand's powers are a bit different, but he can. And maybe it's different with like northern birds compared to southern birds, but like. Southern birds can fly past the wall, and they have gone over the wall and flown north. Maybe they just can withstand a different degree of temperature, and northern birds are like, "Ooh, no, I'm not going there. Doesn't matter how hard you try to control me." Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Regardless, I think it is more of a test than anything else for John, and he's asked how many are at Castle Black. He says 1,000. They know he's wrong. He's like, all right. Yeah, whatever. And Tormund tells John that he likes him, but if he's lying, he's going to rip his guts out through his throat, which that's a threat I guarantee you Tormund Giantsbane could make good on.
Yeah. No, he's like that. Everyone out here, they're very real, which I like too. It's like Egret comes up and defends John a little bit. He's like, he's no crow anymore. You know, he's no crow. And then I forgot who said someone's like, well, just because you want him inside you doesn't mean that that you have to defend. You know, they're just everyone's just like very. You don't hear this kind of talk in King's Landing. You know, everyone's very careful about their words and everything. But out here, it's just like, all right, well, we're just marching. You know, everyone just says what's on their mind right away.
Wonderful. It's wonderful.
And if you want to fuck, you want to fuck. You know, like
yeah. If
they're about
it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and that's when my favorite scene begins. John and Egret then walk away, but she steals his sword Longclaw, making him chase her to get it back. She, the classic little flirty, I'm gonna steal something from you and try and play keep away with you and stuff. And John being like, give it back, like it's so funny that like, it's just really, give it back. And she leads him into a nearby cave, which is heated by natural hot springs from a waterfall and a pool. And Egret starts undressing, and John's like, Egret, we shouldn't, right?
No.
Oh my god. He doesn't move though. He keeps watching her get undressed, and he's like, okay, yeah.
I mean, but like, oh man,
he's like, yeah, no,
think this over.
But definitely.
He's like, I did make a vow. I did take the, I did say those words, but now I'm like, I'm north of the wall. I'm free, and you could kind of see like all of this go through his mind, and then he's like, all right,
this is undoubtedly my favorite scene, mostly because it's just a culmination of my favorite relationship in the entire show. So it's like it's just a really big moment for one of my favorite parts of the show, and they, Jon Snow gives in a little bit, breaks his vows of celibacy. And she quickly shucks off all of her clothes and walks up to him naked. John is very hesitant, but then goes ahead and is like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess. And John continues to kiss her up and down her body. And she insists, like, you don't know, you're nothing. You haven't done this before. Oh, you know nothing, Jon Snow. Whoa. Then he gives her head, and it's pretty awesome.
And he just knew what to do. It just felt right to him. I love that.
I just wanted to kiss you there.
Yeah, I just wanted to kiss. I don't know. Jon Snow is just. It's kind of like Podrick is just, absolute different tiers still. John doesn't.
John's
even
got good instincts,
but he's got a little bit. Podrick's the full package.
That man's.
We
different.
Can't even fathom what Podrick is on. But John is just
any man can fathom what he is capable of.
It's just it also makes sense. Just north of the wall, wildling sex is probably just not very passionate whatsoever.
No.
So she's I don't know. Maybe Egret knows
clearly
really
completely unfamiliar with the concept of getting her pussy ate. That's not something she's ever experienced or even seen around her. Heard about.
Is he is he the pioneer of eating pussy north of the wall?
He has to be. I'm sure someone's done it before, and who knows? There's that shit in The Sopranos where it's like, men are supposed to not like eating pussy. It makes them for some reason kissing a vagina makes you gay. Apparently,
can't be known. Yeah.
That's the most insane shit I've ever heard in my life. Whenever I was watching The Sopranos and that came up, I was like, what the fuck are they even talking about, bro?
No. But that's my favorite line of the episode right there. I almost, the scene, it popped up, I'm like, oh, we're getting this. Like, this, it's happening this episode, It's what a beautiful scene.
Escalates pretty quickly in a way that I didn't really remember being so... I know they've been like really, really flirty and stuff, but what's really interesting to me is the after, when they're lying together, cuddling and everything. And he's like, that thing you did with your mouth. And he's like, oh no, it's just I just wanted to kiss you there, is all. And he admits that he'd never been with anyone. She's like, oh, you were a maid.
You little virgin boy. Yeah, I don't know, kind of like, like a little, like the modern equivalent. Yeah, but
then she goes through her past lovers. John eventually has enough, and John and Egret then slide into the hot springs to take a bath together. And Egret tells John she wishes they could stay in this cave forever. And that's the line that I went with, just because I love
the
that
actual
line.
good line of the scene.
But like that was the bit that made me go, "Wow, this escalated like absurdly fast." I feel like it went from flirting to fucking, which is not uncommon. That happens a lot.
And I really think that just doesn't happen like north of the wall. Like I don't know that that's just so uncommon to have just actual passion. North of I feel like it's all just very brutal and very, I don't know, lustful. There's no.
And there's also this fact that they are probably just trying to stay alive out there and keep their people alive. So a lot of sex probably comes with the fact that it's like, we don't want to be the last of us, do we?
That's true.
There's probably that fact too.
But I'll throw this in. This is where the location fact comes in. This cave where they fuck, it's the same cave in real life, not in the show, but in real life where they shot the Hound verse.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, oh my god, what's his name?
Barrick?
Barrick, yes, Barrick. Dondarrion, right?
Yeah.
It's just the same cave. So where John and Egret fuck and take a bath together, that's where Arya and the Hound and Barrick and Gin, all them are chilling.
No, just framed a little differently. They dumped a little water in there. They were like, this will be cool.
Yeah.
No, I dig that. That's cool.
And the transition of it literally transitions from like their sex and like them in like that line to the fight.
Yeah.
Or I think it maybe opens with the fight and then it goes.
Yeah, the episode starts with the fight.
Yeah, it opens with the fight, then it goes north of the wall, and then they fuck. They're in the cave, and then it goes back to the cave. I think after the fight is over.
No shit, that's funny.
Yeah, it goes right back. And then they're like, cool. They're like, well, I lost. Put the bag over the Hound's head and get him out of here. So,
well, I like the way it shows just how differently set pieces can look if you light them differently and if you shoot them at a different angle and stuff like this. I can see that now that you pointed out to me, but like I didn't think that at all while I was watching it. It was really well done. But yeah, I just wanted to. This was easily my favorite scene. It had my favorite line, and part of that is because Kit Harington and Rose Leslie's chemistry is absolutely fucking absurd.
Makes sense.
They are married after all. They
that does make sense.
Yeah, they don't have to.
That helps.
Pretend, really, you know. And this was, I mean, they were not
prior to their marriage right now, right?
Yeah, they're married. They're not married until between season 7 and 8. Like,
yeah, okay. But I guess when did they start dating?
That's like a big speculation thing.
Yeah, you don't just marry.
Never confirms that. He's always just kind of like, oh, you know, we met on set of Game of Thrones, and then stuff, then whatever. You know, like
there was no chance it wasn't just like, oh, by season 7 he's like, yeah, I'll marry her. Oh, you know, maybe we'll just marry her. I don't know.
They were dating for a while.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe,
no telling when that started, though.
Maybe this is the scene. You know, maybe they were like, well,
yeah, this is this. Well, and even if it wasn't, even if they hadn't started dating, clearly they had that potential, you know, like clearly they had something that was like, oh, I like this person, you know, like, it's not like you just start dating. You have a crush first, you know, like you said about being married. Like, it's not like you just get married, you start dating, and before you start dating, you realize you like a person, and then you start dating. So I think their chemistry kind of plays through in just a really, really raw and real way, and it really helps the scene in a big way. And I think that like, there was a certain duo in this episode that just, who normally and in any other episode their chemistry would just be like impeccable, and I think it was Rob and Talisa. Like their chemistry is incredible, but then when you put it up next to John and Egret, it's like, oh well, that's acting, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what's funny, you know, like it's crazy how you can tell like the real spark of chemistry compared to people doing their jobs. And even so, they're incredible at doing their jobs. I don't want to take anything away from them. It's just that there was very clearly
different tiers to it, you know. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But that does conclude the story north of the Wall. And it takes us to Slaver's Bay, where Daenerys Targaryen's newly freed army, the Unsullied, have just sacked Astapor, head north to the next of the 3 great slave cities, Yunkai. And Jorah Mormont tells Sir Barristan Selmy how he was knighted at the end of the Greyjoy Rebellion, in which they both fought. And Jorah explains that he was the second man through the breach during the Siege of Pike, right behind Thoros of Myr with his flaming sword. So there's another mention of it. I think that's like the second or third mention of Thoros of Myr at the Battle of Pike.
So I thought that this was the same person the whole time, but they're just lore. Like how are they like the same kind of like Lord of Light champion sort of thing? Is that like, or just is that like, I don't know, flaming sword? Like they both just have a flaming sword. I didn't know if like they're both just like
Thoros is the guy who brings Beric back to life.
Wait, that's Thoros?
That's Thoros. Yeah, it's the same guy.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He's the one who runs through the Siege of Pike with the flaming sword in the front. He actually tells the story later, and he's like, I don't even remember it. I was so fucked up. Like,
okay, that clears it way more. Thank God. Because I was like, is this dude some legend or some, like, they're talking about him like he's some legend. I'm like, I swear, like, okay, oh my God. Yeah. I was so confused whenever they were telling these stories.
Same guy who brings Beric back to life.
Okay. Okay.
Which does help explain the flaming sword and such. Yes, he is a champion of the Lord of Light. But Barristan thinks that this is amusing as he wasn't actually there. He was commanding the siege of Oldwick at the time, and King Robert Baratheon himself knighted Jorah for his bravery that day. It was the proudest moment of Jorah's life, though he almost pissed all over the king's shoes. It had been 16 hours in metal plate armor. Not a piss in sight. Didn't think about it during the battle.
Not gonna lie, Jorah and Sir Barristan here.
They got some good interactions.
Like a cute little friendship that happened here. You know, it's like the only people here that understand Westeros, like, at all, basically. Big time, and the only people that will understand their stories and Like, because if Jorah tells this story to anyone else, it's kind of like, it's just a story. It's like, I don't know anything of what you're saying. I've never seen any of this at all, but cool story. But Barristan is actually like, oh yeah, no, I've been there, or it can
No,
add,
I've
you know,
seen
like,
that,
and
I remember that big pivotal moment in the war. You know, like I was fighting at the time. It wasn't there, but
man, I don't know if I just haven't really picked it up on previous watches, but like Daenerys, she is on her like Rhaegar. She is going. Like, I mean, she is like every time they speak of Rhaegar, it's always like he was just so wonderful. You know, he just knew what to say always. He always did the right thing, even though we were fighting and killing. He was like always inspiring people to follow him, and he would sing and just do. He was like a renaissance. He just did everything. And like Daenerys just seems that like she's just doing the same thing. You know, like she knows what she has to do, and she's just doing.
She's going for it. Yeah. Now, Daenerys is super fucking cool, and she's been all the more enjoyable on this rewatch. Just the rise that character saw, you know, like her and Jon Snow actually have like very similarly structured stories. Hers just happens a lot quicker, you know, like throughout the first season, kind of being not a background character. She's clearly the focal point of her storyline. It's just that she is subservient
all the way in Essos.
to. And she's subservient to everyone around her, you know, like she's in her Night's Watch era when she's under Khal Drogo and her brother and stuff. Like that's she's not the man in charge until, you know, she becomes Lord Commander, she becomes queen, and she eventually leaves Essos, leaves the Night's Watch, and so on and so forth. Like they have this similarly structured story that I think pays off really, really well. And ultimately culminates in what we always wanted, just in the way that we didn't exactly anticipate, I would say. You know, I remember watching these early seasons, like, and it wasn't yet, you know, I think it was probably more towards season 5, after, like, Jon Snow has become, like, a legend, you know? And it's like, God, when are Jon Snow and Daenerys going to finally meet each other and something happens there, you know? Because, like, it always felt inevitable, and then like, the last couple seasons, man, it's hard. It's hard to pull off the ending of such a legendary show. Like it's just a big,
How do you
broad
wrap
story.
it up?
Yeah, that's hard, man. It is. But anywho, Barristan admits that Robert was a good man and a good warrior, but a terrible king. And Barristan is sorry that he wasted so much of his life defending kings who didn't deserve it. Spent 17 years under Robert and the Mad King before that, and he just wants now to serve with pride, fighting for someone he believes in. And then that's when their talk turns to Daenerys, and Jorah says that Barristan can believe in her. Barristan says that she'll, you know, have good men to advise her, though he respectfully warns that it might not be well for her to be seen with Jorah when they return to Westeros. You know, you are pretty widely despised back home, Jorah. You know, you sold some people, and that's not good over there.
Barristan
not
just
good anywhere.
It's. I don't know. I don't know if his motives are truly just like I believe in Daenerys, and I actually see this as a threat to her when we get back. It's such a small threat, you know, like just Jorah being there. I think that people will mainly be focused on Daenerys coming to Westeros alive in the first place with 3 dragons, with a fleet of ships coming at, you know, I don't think they're going to be like, oh, but Jorah Mormont's there. We don't really fuck with Daenerys.
No,
now,
yeah,
you know?
But like that's, and I think there's enough. There hasn't been enough legend in Daenerys' corner yet as to what she'd be coming home with. You know, like, because eventually she becomes the breaker of chains. She frees Slaver's Bay. Like
I guess she hasn't done all of that yet.
She hasn't
and her
done
dragons
all that yet.
aren't that yet.
So I guess like whenever they come back later, if Jorah could have made it all the way to the end, I think it probably would have played a little differently, where it's like, even in the eyes of noblemen, Because that's who they're concerned about. It's not like they're concerned like the people will be like, oh, well, Jorah Mormont once sold people. I don't know if I like that. They don't know Jorah Mormont did that. Like that's the lords and ladies that they're worried about being like, oh, but she has Jorah Mormont at her side. Should we support her?
I see now.
If one day when they come back and she has freed Slaver's Bay, I think it kind of helps Jorah's image and doesn't ultimately matter. But right now, I think it's a relatively fair concern. And frankly, I think his motives are good. He's just looking out for Daenerys. Like, he's like, if you truly care about Daenerys, the best thing for her might be for you to not be in her corner. You're not beloved over there. Nobody fucks with you, dog. You're kind of a fuckboy.
Damn. Well, that's what happens if you sell people. Don't do that. I get, that's pretty easy. Just don't do that. And you won't have to worry about that ever.
Well, and then Jorah kind of asks him a little bit like, do you know that I spied for Varys over here for a little bit? Do you know that? Without asking it directly, he's like, so the advisors of the small council, any of them speak against Robert when he wanted Daenerys, dead? And it becomes
not on the small council?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Cool. Whew. Yeah, he's like, okay. Which is, I don't know. I guess I didn't think about this until now. Like, it didn't hit me that just he wasn't on the small council and that he should have been, just being the leader of the king, or I don't know what the, is it just leader of the King's Guard? I feel like there's a proper name
Lord
for
Commander.
that. Yeah, Lord Commander. But I don't know. It didn't hit me until like Jorah, like I don't know. It was just said, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he's not. And then the small council is now just it's not Robert's small council anymore. It's all I guess some people are the same. Most people are the same actually. Tyrion would be the only change, and I guess
Renly
Littlefinger is out. Renly, yeah, dead. Okay, yeah, so that.
Yeah, Littlefinger, Varys. I think Littlefinger and Varys.
Is he still in? Is Littlefinger still? Because he's not Master of Coin anymore, but he's...
Yeah, like he would be if he wasn't given hair, or if he wasn't given the reach. Like he was still up until like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But anywho, Jorah's a bit relieved to find that Barristan wasn't on the King's King's Small Council, but he's curious as to why he wasn't. He's like, I killed a bunch of Robert's friends, and I served under the king before him. Robert didn't mind me keeping the position. He knew I was a really good advisor. He knew I was a really good guard and a really good knight. He just wasn't going to trust me to be at small council meetings, and I got that, but it sucked, And
didn't he say he was like it sucked, but I actually kind of enjoyed it? He's like,
yeah,
I hate politics.
I never cared for the politics of it all. It was kind of dope.
Like, oh, well, but like, honestly, it was kind of nice not having to deal with all that,
Yeah.
You got to keep the title, because that's the thing. He is Sir Barristan.
He was that guy,
yeah. Still, even now, people are like afraid to test him in his old age. So like, he even said, I could slice you all like a cake or whatever. I don't know. I had that line at one point. So,
yeah,
I'm not fucking with Sir Barristan, but
yeah, and Jorah and Barristan then briefly bicker about the fact that Barristan only just came to them. It's bold of you to be giving me directives and stuff, and he says,
I take my orders from the Queen.
Yeah. And they're both
like,
all right, fair enough. I like the Barristan's like, he's not irrational ever. He's a very level-headed dude. He's like, yeah, all right, man, sure. I'm just saying.
Like, actually, fair enough. I don't know, like, yeah, true. I get it. You did some bad shit in the past, but we are over here in a different world, and we are following Daenerys. I don't know. I think this was a very important. They both understand each other now, and they both, instead of conspiring against each other or trying to usurp one or the other, they're I don't know. Seems like they're good friends now.
I would say so.
After this,
I would say so.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Daenerys and her homie, Missandei, meet with the assembled officers of the Unsullied. She addresses them in Low Valyrian and says that they are now no longer slaves, but free men, and they can make their own choices. And she asks who among them did they choose to be the leader of the Unsullied. And the way
instantly, instantly they're like, "Have you guys chosen a leader amongst your groups?" Boom, and they're like, "Yeah, it's this dude. This dude's fucking sick." Like,
I'm reading straight off the like the fandom, like what
Mhm.
Wikipedia is for Star Wars, whatever that is for Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones wiki, and this is kind of hilariously worded. So I'll read you word for word 2 sentences in a row. She addresses them in Low Valyrian and says that now they are no longer slaves but free men, and they can make their own choices. And she asks them to choose among them to be a leader of all the Unsullied. They part ranks, and one of the eunuchs steps forward.
maybe a robot wrote this one. I don't know. That doesn't.
Like,
Yeah,
they
that doesn't seem.
they are eunuchs, but like, I don't know, one of the men, one of the people, one of the eunuchs steps forward. I don't know. I just thought it was a little funny.
Wow. Yeah.
But
Like a little jab at them for no reason there.
Yes,
Okay.
But she asks him to remove his helmet and tell her his name, and he introduces himself as Grey Worm. And Daenerys is like, Missandei, I'm gonna need that one cleared up for me because I don't think I heard that right. And Missandei's like, no, they the slave masters would give them names that reminded them of what they were, vermin, Grey Worm, Red Flea, Black Rat, etc. And Daenerys is like, okay, well, I gotta change that like ASAP. For all y'all, you can change your name to whatever the fuck you want because that's pretty bad. You can reclaim the name your parents gave you, whatever. I don't care. Just as long as you choose your name, that's cool. And Grey Worm's like, well, I mean, I choose to be known as Grey Worm, and I was very close to picking this as my favorite line or scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
Grey Worm's a lucky name. Do you
Yeah.
know why? It's because it's the name that Daenerys Targaryen freed. He went on much longer and said, his whole life.
The name
and
that my
then-
parents gave me
Yeah.
is bad, is cursed because it was the name that got enslaved. Grey Worm is the name I had when this one was freed. This one, not I. This one.
Yeah. Just I don't know. And Daenerys, like it's fueling her ego for sure. Like she's hearing this and she's like, okay, I must be doing something right. I'm maybe not fueling her ego in a bad way, but like this,
it lets her know she's on the right path.
Yeah. She didn't expect this at all. She expected a complete name change and maybe for him to say, I am
Jacob Anderson.
Yeah, I am Dan Smith. But no, I don't know. I love in Emilia Clarke's reaction to this. I don't think she even says many words. It's just kind of like her facial acting that she has through this is
She's
so
really good. She's really good.
But still, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't think anyone touches one guy this episode. I'm not gonna lie, for performance. I don't think it's close. And
he hasn't come up yet. Yeah, he hasn't come up yet. And he was damn close to being my pick, but I went a little. I was comfortable going with someone else because I had zero doubt you would go with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So that's the thing. I'll let everyone have their flowers whenever they come up in the talk, but whenever we get to him, he's going to win it. But that's the thing. Everyone is still, they know their character so well. Like everyone here, it's so difficult to not want to say that Lena Headey also just knows Cersei so fucking well, and she did it again. And Emilia Clarke is playing Daenerys. Like it's insane how well these people can just play the characters every episode.
They're incredible. But that does conclude the story over in Slaver's Bay. And it leads me to my question time.
Let's go. I'm ready.
So, there are 4 actors in this episode who appear in Disney-era Star Wars.
Oh, okay. I know one for sure.
There are 4 of them who appear in live-action Disney-era Star Wars. They are the actors on camera and everything. So, whenever
Captain Phasma and Brienne of Tarth.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that was the one that immediately popped in my head. Okay, I know that for sure. Let's see. No, that's Marvel.
Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma, and Brienne of Tarth. She appeared in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Emilia Clarke,
Yes.
Kira,
Kira and
and
Solo,
Daenerys.
correct.
Okay. So much Marvel crossover. That's Game of Thrones in Marvel, but not not Star Wars. Because I was thinking Richard Madden. I'm like, no, that's Icarus.
Marvel.
That's
Kit
Icarus.
Harington,
No,
that's
yep,
Marvel.
no,
That's
no.
Dane.
Ooh, those might be the only two I can get right now. In this episode, specifically
In
as
this
well?
episode,
Fuck.
this specific episode, there are 4.
I'm blanking on the other ones right now.
I can give you the last 2 if you concede.
I think I concede. Yeah, I think I'd stop at those 2.
All right. Those are definitely the 2 biggest. The other 2 are definitely supporting characters. And not to say Phasma is not a supporting character, but they were in movies and relatively big roles in movies. Anton Lesser plays Qyburn and Major Partagaz in Andor.
Okay. That's right. I would have never got that. Okay.
No, yeah. And that was the third biggest one. The last one is like he's in the movie for like a couple scenes, maybe. And Ian McElhinney, who plays Barristan Selmy, is General Dodonna in Rogue One.
General Dodonna, no way.
Yeah, he's just
Good
standing
old
around
Barristan.
he's standing around the war table whenever
Really?
Jin's like, we have to have hope, blah, blah, you know. Yeah, so those are the 4. Amelia Clarke is Kira, Gwendolyn Christie as Phasma, Ian McElhinney as Dodonna, and Anton Lesser as Partagaz. So, 4 actors in Disney era Star Wars.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of crossover there.
Mm-hmm.
Glad I got 2. I got a 50% there. I feel pretty good on that.
Not bad.
Yeah,
and I was thinking maybe 3 out of 4 if you got the Partagaz.
Partagaz, that's I could have gotten there. I'd have to really think about it for a long time.
Because he's a small part of this episode. Like he's not a big part of this episode. But so that's the question time of the day. So we can move on now and head to River Run. Where the prisoners, Martin and Willem Lannister, awake to hear shouting and fighting outside the door to their cell, and Lord Rickard Stark walks on in, murders them brutally, and gets the fuck out of there. Just felt like killing some children, Karstark. Hell of a guy. Hell of a guy.
Yeah, I guess that's how you do it.
Kill
Tommen early, though. You know, just get Tommen to death real quick. I don't know, it's funny. Just to... They're like, well... Hopefully people won't. I didn't recognize Tommen when he came back up. Like I didn't recognize that this was the same kid, so it worked definitely.
I mean, they do stuff like this a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the only one that's like kind of blatant. Like it's like a big. He comes back as a big character. There are a few actors who are just kind of sprinkled in multiple roles who aren't big. There are a bunch of background actors, but yeah. Regardless, the bloody corpses of these 2 kids are laid out on the floor of Robb Stark in River Run's main meeting room, and Robb's disgusted. Talisa's in tears. You know, she treated these kids, she helped them heal and stuff, and Robb's like, is this everyone? You're telling me 5 of you needed to murder 2 unarmed squires in their prison cells? And Karstark's like, it was a father's vengeance. And Robb's like, these boys had nothing to do with the death of your sons. They were both killed by Jaime Lannister. And Rickard's like, well, you could place these deaths at your mom's feet then, because she let him go. And he's like, no, she didn't murder children. Okay? She didn't. Just the bottom line. In fact, those 2 dudes, your kids, were killed before she ever let him go.
Yeah, no, I don't know when he drops it, but he just these were boys, you know. He just yells at him, it's not getting through his head that they're just children, and then he just lets it out, and
Robb's my favorite.
Character makes perfect sense here. He it's such a difficult situation he's in,
and he was top 3 performance wise.
This was a good scene. a good of the count of
series.
his council.
A series of good scenes here in
yeah.
River Run, dude.
Well,
Richard Madden just dominated in this one for me. Like I'm tempted to. I think I'm gonna. I feel bad because I was kind of giving my performance previously her first nod. She hasn't gotten a performance out of us, and I was.
I don't think Richard Madden has gotten one yet, though, has he?
Richard Madden has. I've given him one. I think.
Okay, I haven't given him one yet, but.
But like his performance is better. Like it just is better. So I think I'm gonna change it to Richard Madden.
Wow.
I had something else, but like reliving the episode in my head, Richard Madden's moments are too fucking strong. Yeah. I previously had Macy Williams, and we will get there. She did really, really good in her scenes, but nothing quite as
Rob's were different.
Nothing quite as memorable as Rob's acting.
Yeah. Because he had to tell off Karstark, and go in on them, and then even the take him to the dungeon, whatever, and they have that last guy that stays, and he's like, no, I just watched, I like you, you're a good king. It's like, oh yeah, you just watched, but he hates saying it. He says it, but then after he's done it, everyone leaves the room. He's like, fuck, like he doesn't like it. You could tell that he has to appear kingly.
This is Ned's son, bro.
Yeah. And oh my God.
He knows it's not the smart thing to do for the war. He's like, I know this is going to cost me men. I know. But how do I not punish this man for killing small children? This whole scene where Edmure is insisting that if word of this leaves River Run, Tywin will exact heavy reprisals for the deaths of his nephews. He's like, quietly bury the boys. Keep silent until the war is over. And Rob's like, I'm not a fucking liar, dude. I can't fight a war in the name of justice if I'm not going to serve justice to murderers within my own ranks. And all of them are like, even Talisa is like,
yeah, they're begging him.
They're like, I completely get it.
They're like, we know you're good. We understand. Like, they're all trying to convince him. And like, and that's the thing is like, I think they got me to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, man. I think they're actually getting to him a little bit here, but then you see his face and you're like, I don't know. Like, you don't really know where it's going. And that's the thing. It cuts. Like, it cuts and you don't know what's going on, right away. And then you see the block, a ledge, and then you're like, you start to piece it together. But like during that time while they're advising him, it's like, this is Rob's small council right now. And it's like, it's so much more natural. It's his family, it's his mother, it's his uncle, it's his wife.
And they actually care about him. They don't, they're not like trying to gain their own favor like Littlefinger. Varys isn't just looking out for the will of, Varys is looking out for the will of the people. But they care about Rob and trying to help Rob make the best decisions he possibly can.
And I guess that's why Rob's the king, though. Like he's the one who makes the decision at the end of the day. Who, if he has to give the sentence as well,
he's going to swing the sword. Yeah, he ignores their pleas, and he has Lord Karstark brought out to the courtyard to be executed during a rainstorm. And Karstark points out that not only are they both descended from the first men, but the Starks and the Karstarks are kin. Founded centuries. The Karstark is literally a branch of the Starks. Founded
Stark,
by a young son.
Stark
Was the son who founded the house Karstark was named Carlin Stark. Like he was a Stark, but his first name was Carr, so he just said, "Fuck it, I'll name my whole house Karstark."
Wow. Yeah.
I wonder what the whole drama was there, because you got to have some pretty deep beef to go ahead and start your own house. I don't know, but regardless, Rob says that their blood relationship did not stop Rickard from betraying him, and it won't stop Rob from executing him now. And Rickard says it isn't meant to stop Rob. He wants it to haunt Rob until the day he dies, which was only a few episodes away. With his last words, Lord Rickard says that Robb will be cursed as a kinslayer, and that Robb is no king of his. The king who lost the North. Obedient to the laws of his father, the man who passes the sentence shall swing the sword, and Robb declares death for the Lord of House Karstark, and personally beheads Lord Rickard. The musical swell and then the performance from Richard Madden here are absolutely fucking absurd. Like an all-time moment in Game of Thrones, dude.
Him like squeezing his hand, like he's pissed. Like beyond pissed that he has to like. Oh, there's so much going on. Like so much going on at once. There's no other show that can really. This is a small moment in the grand scheme of the show.
Yeah.
This is like nothing. Like, and that's insane. That it's also just visually so beautiful the whole time. Like, thank God it was raining, made it so much cooler. Right. Just that his hair was all down to and all wet, and it just everyone,
it adds an extra dreariness to the whole scene. Like everything is much more devastating because of the rain coming down. You feel the gravity of the moment a lot more. Like if it was just a nice sunny day and all this happened, there's no way this comes off as terrible for him. Like this is a turning point for the war, like this is the action that actually actively loses the war for him. He already set that in motion when he married Talisa, but killing off half of his force, essentially, that's very end, because who's he got to go to help for to replace those men? Walder Frey.
I wish he just had the idea. Or did he have the idea of taking Casterly Rock before he killed Karstark or after?
That's after.
Man, I wish he just had that idea before. And he's like, let's just do this real quick. Let's take Casterly Rock, and then we'll kill him. Let's use them.
They need to take Casterly Rock. Okay, yeah, you mean like to keep the Karstarks in their corner for. Yeah. Okay.
See, if Talisa just came in there, and I don't know, wanted a little map lesson before, I don't know.
Yeah, when he like grabs her hand and they're like pointing around the map, I was like, oh, they're so fucking cute.
Oh, they are.
And then he's like, wait a fucking minute.
I got an idea. King shit.
If they don't want to face me head on, I'll face them where they're not. And,
it's sad. It's sad, like him speaking the words, like, "Oh, there's only one more man."
I'm watching this, like, "Oh fuck yeah! Why do I not remember them taking Casterly Rock?" And then he's like, "And we're gonna need the men of the man whose daughter I was supposed to marry." And I was like, "No,
like, fuck!" No. Yeah, that's the turn. Yeah, when he starts to, and then you're like, oh man, no,
you're officially there, dude. Like the actions that lead to Robb's demise, it's upon us. It's within the next 4 episodes. Like, I'm not ready for that, bro.
That's not okay.
We kind of covered the whole last section of that scene there, so I'll go ahead and head to Harrenhal. Where Locke presents the captive Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth to Lord Roose Bolton. And Locke is quite proud of himself for his torture of Jaime. And he's like, where's his hand? And he never lost it. It's around his fucking neck, sir. And Roose is like, all right, dude. Fuck off.
Get rid of this. He's like, get rid of... Oh, to send it to them as a message? He's like, no. Like, what the... Dude, shut the fuck... Like, go home. Or, I don't know. It's insane that, like, they love torture so much and they love doing all this stuff, but then they can also be like, oh, no, you went too far, man. Like, still. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess... I don't know, maybe... what's this Bolton? This,
Roose.
Yeah, maybe Roose just has a bit more of a level head on him, I guess.
He's clearly not... Clearly not a great
sick fuck.
Yeah. The way he goes, oh, you didn't hear. Stannis stormed.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Stannis laid siege to the city. And your sister...
How do I
say this?
Hmm.
Your sister is alive and well. Everything's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And I just love that you can tell this dude is a sick fuck, but he's holding up he's holding up a facade to try and lure this dude into being okay with him, but he just can't help himself. He's got to do, there is no reason to do that beyond being just a little fucking sick, you know?
Yeah, Jamie's already been through it. He got his hand chopped off. He drank horse piss. All in mud, just no water. I've been through it, and he's here. I mean, he's the way he just drops to his knees though. Like when he hears that is alive and well, and he just instantly drops, and it's a runner at the end of a marathon. They just got to the finish line. It's that's all they wanted to hear, and it's all good. It's his performance starts here. It's Nikolaj Coster-Waldau. It's him for this episode. Because holy shit. Starting now,
really fucking good
until the end. He just has a lot of screen time as well. He has a lot of story time, a lot of physical acting, a lot of screaming and pain acting that he has to do as well. It's I don't know. He went nuts this episode.
Yeah.
I'll be giving him his flowers the whole time here.
I appreciate that because he was the one that I was like, oh well, that's one I'm confident Joseph will go with.
I gotcha.
So I'll spread some love somewhere else. Yeah, Jamie is so overcome that he collapses, and Bolton calls for Qyburn to attend to his injuries. And later on, Qyburn peels away the crude tourniquet that Locke's men put on him, and finds that the stump of his right hand has become badly infected. Jamie's like, am I dead? Am I going to die? And Qyburn's like, no, but the corruption has spread to the point that it would just be safest to take the entire arm. And Jamie goes, no, I'm going to go ahead and kill you if you try and do that.
Then you'll die. He's like,
who the fuck even are you, bro? You ain't got chains. You're not a maester. And Qyburn's like, well, I was stripped of my chains by the Citadel, and they didn't exactly appreciate the experiments they called too bold, quote unquote. And Qyburn's like, all right, I'll just have to take it at the elbow. And Jamie's like, no, grabs him by the throat.
I only need one arm to kill you. He said, he's like, I don't need my other hand to kill you.
A bar. And Qyburn's like, okay, well, then we're going to have to try one of those bold experiments I was told about, or I was, despised for. I'm going to have to go ahead and pick away the infection little by little, burning out the wounds with boiling wine. With luck, this might stop the infection without having to amputate your arm, buddy. And
Jamie's like, okay, this is more like it.
Yeah, no, I'd be like, bro, take my fucking arm, dog.
Whoa. Yeah,
boiling wine, and then to be like, I don't want a painkiller. What the
and here's
fuck?
milk of the poppy. But it's to make sure he doesn't just chop off his arm.
Right.
He wants to be awake to make sure that this is what he's doing. Because... Or he thinks he's also weak enough to where if he takes it, he might just die. He might not live through it. I don't know. So I think it's kind of both. He wants to make sure he keeps his arm and that he still can kill, Qyburn if he needs to.
I'm risking it, bro. No way I'm letting you take a fucking tool just straight to my infected tissue and...
there will be pain. He's like... I'll scream. There will be a lot of pain. He's
I'll scream loudly.
It's like, oh my god. So already at this point, I put in his name in the episode. And then I think you get to Rob later on. It cuts and then it goes to all Rob stuff. And I'm like, ooh, or Richard Madden. And then the rest of the Jamie scenes come on. And then I'm like, I erased Richard Madden's name, a little just slowly, and I'm like, okay, it is now I know who gets the episode here,
right.
But man, it's I don't know. He there's the pain, I guess acting there and just having to just be badass guy, but I don't know. His best stuff is still coming. That's the thing, is that this hasn't even gotten to the best acting of the episode. For me, for him. So
after that, Brienne is in Harrenhal's bathhouse scrubbing off weeks' worth of caked mud and grime and filth from the trek. And Jaime then appears in the doorway, assisted by a servant, barely able to stand due to the pain. And he asks the servant to tell him to take off his rags and leave. And Jaime then stumbles naked into the same bath that Brienne is in. She's like, there are so many other baths, dude. What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, if I pass out, do call for help. I don't think I'll last very long if I do. He's like, I'll probably drown. And Brienne asks, why should I care how you die? He points out that she swore a solemn vow to get him to King's Landing in one piece.
Not going very well, is it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. This, like, I guess it makes, he gets in and says, it's in case I pass out. But he really,
he wants to pester her and confess and all this.
Yeah, is that from like, he knew that he was going to kind of tell this story here, like from when he's walking in, or do you think it's like he sits with her for a little bit and he's like, you know what, like I think I actually am ready to confess, like, and this, like, it makes sense to tell this person now. Like I was more curious if he's like been wanting to confess for so long and he's just been waiting, or like if him sitting in there for a little bit and then like he's like, you know what, actually. Like,
I don't think he plans on telling her. I think he insults her for her inability to guard Renly, which is his automatic mode, is insulting Brienne, and then he reflects on how kindly she actually has treated him in comparison to Locke and the Bolton men. And Jaime's like, you know what? I don't want to fight anymore. I just want a truce. And Brienne's like, dude, you've done nothing but insult me. I've been cool to you pretty much the whole fucking time. You want a truce? You got to make me trust you. And that's when he's like, okay, let me tell you a story then.
And also, Brienne she was really pissed on that Renly remark. She got up and was like, yo, you better not. But it gave Jaime a chance to,
admire.
Check her out. Jaime, you could see, was looking up and down.
Yeah. Not subtle by any means.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think I feel like the only other person that Jaime would have ever confessed to is Cersei. I feel like that's the only other person that he's probably ever told, if anyone. But I'd say Cersei probably makes sense to tell.
I don't even think he'd tell Cersei.
Really? You think Brienne's the first one that he's told? Ever?
In full, yeah. Because Cersei won't feel any empathy for him, and he knows that.
Tyrion?
Tyrion's a distinct possibility. That's a distinct possibility. In fact, probably the most likely option aside from Brienne here. Just because I know that if he told this story to Cersei, Cersei would be like, suck it up, pussy. She's mean. She is super mean, and she's done nothing but be mean and
that's
sexually forward towards Jaime.
Yeah.
Their relationship is so fucked up because they talk all this shit about loving each other, but they never have all of their scenes are marred and being stuff, but they don't have a sweet scene. Someone is always pissed. One of them is always angry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's usually Cersei because she's just kind of constantly angry.
That is just who she is. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Jaime notes that Brienne has had the same look on her face that he's seen on countless faces in the past 17 years. People that despise him call him Kingslayer more than his own name, or Oathbreaker, a man without honor. And Jaime then goes on to recall the Mad King's obsession with wildfire. Are you familiar with wildfire? Yeah. He loved watching people burn alive. He loved that shit. And Jaime recalls how Aerys burned lords he didn't like, hands who failed him, and anyone he thought was against him. And ultimately, by the end of his reign, half of Westeros was against him. So Aerys had his pyromancers place caches of wildfire all over King's Landing, under the great Sept of Baelor, under the slums of Flea Bottom, under houses, stables, taverns, and even under the Red Keep itself. And after Robert's victory at the Trident, he marched on the capital city, but Jaime's father Tywin arrived there first, leading the entire Lannister army and promising to defend the city. Jaime warned Aerys that his father was never a man to choose the losing side, that this must be a trick and he should surrender the city while he still could. But the Mad King refused. Nor did Aerys listen to Varys when he gave the same warning that Tywin couldn't be trusted. But he did listen to Grand Maester Pycelle, who convinced Aerys the Lannisters were there to help. Aerys opened the city gates.
Grand Maester Pycelle. I don't know. Like, what a crazy... Like, I'm listening to this, and I'm like, oh, I'm taken back by his performance here, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, I didn't really... I don't know if I just didn't listen to this on... I don't know. It's really hitting the first time here on this watch, you know, like the Mad King and everything that he's doing here. And I'm like, oh my God, this is nuts. Like this, like what a story. And then it's like the one man to convince him, you know, Pycelle. Of course it's him. And I got to think it's just the religious, like everyone else is just a advisor. But he always has the wise, and then like, well, the gods say this, you know, like, and he always has that, and that's why he's been able just to stick around for so long. Is that he's always so wise, and just he has the gods aspect, you know, because Joffrey, I remember was asking a lot of people of counsel, and then Pycelle says something of like, oh well, it's okay with the gods, and he's like, oh well, then okay, yep, all right, good. Oh, I think it's like to like be like done with Sansa and then go marry Marjorie. And then Pycelle's like, yeah, that's okay with the gods. And he's like, oh, okay. Yep. Then we can do it.
Yeah, right.
Sort of thing. So,
I also think there's something there that's like, people don't like to hear hard truth, you know? Like Pycelle tells him what he wants to hear in that moment. Yeah, the Lannisters.
That's
are
also
cool.
true.
You can open the gates. It'll be fine.
I guess he doesn't say anything religious in that. He just says, the Lannisters are always friends of the crown. They've always been.
Regardless, like it bodes well for Aerys if that's the truth. So he goes ahead and accepts it. But as soon as the gates open, the Lannisters sack the city. And Jaime again begged Aerys to surrender, but the Mad King ordered Jaime to bring him Tywin's head and his pyromancer to set the city ablaze, burning its hundreds of thousands of inhabitants in wildfire. And Jaime makes it plain to Brienne that this was his breaking point, you know? Yeah. What would you do if Renly had commanded you to kill your own father and then stand by and do nothing as he murdered thousands of innocent people? And she can only sit in shocked silence. She's kind of like her mouth's just agape. She's just watching. She's like, my fucking God, this is horrifying. And this is truly a knight's...
Anybody. Yeah, like...
This is a knight's worst nightmare, you know? Like,
yeah. And like, it's you know, it being Brienne, it makes sense. Like, why didn't you tell me? Like that's my reaction. You know, when I'm hearing this, I'm like, oh my God, Jaime, why didn't you tell anyone? And then he's like, is that when he starts talking about Ned? Like right then and there, he's like, oh,
Ned Stark, man, a shadow that's just lurking over this entire episode. Just the whole fucking thing is marred by the memory of Ned, because I mean Robb taking the actions that Ned would have taught him, Jaime being like, I couldn't tell anyone shit because nobody would believe me. Ned Stark saw the whole thing, and Ned Stark is the most it's hilarious that Ned Stark was the most honorable man in the Seven Kingdoms, and everybody knew it. Like there was nobody who doubted that. They were like, yeah, that's the guy.
Yep.
If he's saying something, it's the fucking truth. You know, like that's...
So Ned was there when all of this went down?
He walked in after Jaime had killed the Mad King.
That's okay. Yeah.
He didn't see all of it.
Okay.
Ned walked through the doors, and Jaime was standing over the dead body of the Mad King.
And then he sees him slit his throat as well, which is pretty baller. That Jaime's like, I stabbed him in the back. You know, it was reactionary. I had to do, you know, I killed whoever first. Right. he kills the pyromancer first. And
Make sure he can't run off and burn the city.
He tried to run, so I stabbed him in the back, but he said, if it was his goal to burn down the whole city and come back from the ashes
as a dragon,
I didn't want to let that happen, so I fucking slit his throat. And I was like, oh my God, and thank God, because that's a Targaryen right there. That could have been a dragon.
Yeah, who knows?
That could, he if he liked wildfire so much, maybe, I'd assume he probably knew he couldn't get burnt. I don't know, maybe, possibly, probably. He probably played with fire a lot, so Daenerys can't get burnt. I'd say if Daenerys does that, she just sets King's Landing ablaze. The same exact thing happens when her dragons were born, but she just, I don't know. It's just like Khal Drogo's funeral, but much, much, much bigger.
Right.
And so I don't know. This was just I don't know. I wonder how long the actual scene was, because it really, you were sitting with Jaime and Brienne in the bath for actually quite a while.
I'd be willing to bet it's a good 8 minutes.
It was nice. It was just, he walks in at about 36 minutes and
passes out.
Let's see, at about 42 minutes.
Okay.
So wow. But man, you really just sit there and it's just on Jaime. Just the camera just on him, just letting him tell the story.
Incredible monologue. Yeah.
Oh my God. Monologue. It was so good. It's my favorite scene as well. The bathhouse scene. He gets the performance in. And the relationship is so on rewatch. I love Jon and Ygritte, and I knew I already loved them, and I'm like, oh, we're getting, there's sex in the cave. But this relationship is a lot more interesting to me with all just the Jaime stuff that I was missing before of maybe he doesn't truly love Cersei. It is kind of a thing that he's convinced himself that he might love her, but that now that he actually sees someone, like Brienne and is falling for her. I don't know. It's very interesting on this watch.
They fuck Jaime's story up at the end.
Yeah, I know, and that's sad. Yeah, that's the
absolute worst ending of anyone's story in this show.
Yeah,
I have no doubt in my mind.
I mean, it we were hoping that he would become the Queen Slayer, actually kill Cersei. I remember that's what I was wanting, telling everyone, oh, I hope he becomes the Queen Slayer actually, and does kill Cersei, get her out of here, come full circle. But
no, he decided to run into a burning building and die with her. What an idiot! What a moron. But yeah, Jaime goes on a rage, yelling, what right did Stark have to judge him? By what right does the wolf dare judge the lion? And the strain of the recounting overcomes Jaime, and he begins to faint, nearly face first in the water. But Brienne catches him. Help! The Kingslayer! Jaime.
Still calling him the Kingslayer after that. Yeah, I know. I was like, you just heard that, and he started with, man, people call me Oathbreaker, Kingslayer, and then I guess it's just, she's used to it, not used to it.
Oh, yeah, and it's to serve this line.
Nice, yeah.
It's funny how this goes from really dramatic television, prestige television to stage drama. I felt like,
the Kingslayer! Yeah.
My name is Jaime. And then the lights go down, the curtain shuts. You know what I'm saying? That's what it felt like.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was very, how could the honorable Ned Stark, him just going from absolute nominee just performance out the ass to the Kingslayer, somebody come in here. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I love the scene. It just took a really funny tone there at the end. But we then head to Hollow Hill, where elsewhere in the Riverlands, at a hideout of the Brotherhood Without Banners, Sandor Clegane prepares to fight Beric Dondarrion, trial by combat. And as both men prepare, Thorosmir prays to the Lord of Light to judge Sandor for his crimes if he is guilty, or give strength to his sword if he is innocent. Before the fight begins, Beric calls upon the Lord of Light to ignite his sword with flame, using only his blood. Due to Sandor's fear of fire, Beric initially has an advantage against this guy, but Beric even manages to set Sandor's wooden shield on fire, which is strapped so tightly to Sandor's arm that he cannot remove it and nearly burns himself. However, Sandor's raw physical power and anger overpowers Beric, and with a single downward swipe, cuts right through his flaming sword, his armor, and deep into his shoulder.
Yeah. Whoa.
Killing him.
I mean, I love how absolutely dude is like falling in half almost, completely, and then a little bit of prayer, not today, and it's just his shoulders, it's back. I guess it's magic. He's resurrected.
What's so fucking cool is knowing that both of these characters play such an instrumental role in Arya Stark becoming the person she is, that neither of them can die. Therein, the person who has to win is the Hound, so Beric can be resurrected.
That's right. Actually, the reason both of them can't die is because of Arya, and Arya must live to kill the Night King. Like Arya is
recall
crucial. Yeah.
Season 8, Episode 3, the scene where Melisandre asks Arya, what do we say to the God of Death? Not today. The people who got her to that room are the Hound and Beric Dondarrion. They ran all the way through. Beric takes all those knives in the back from the dead. The Hound gets her into that room, shuts the door, locks it. Like that moment is why both of them have to live through this interaction so that they can get her to that, which is fucking nuts.
Interesting that he has a fear of fire and like being used so heavily by the Lord of Light, if that his childhood trauma there's something more to that, like it scared it kept him away from fire for just the right amount of time to stay alive, and then sort of thing, like it just kept him away. I don't know. Like, wow. Yeah. I never thought about like it having to serve Arya, like they.
No, yeah. Like that's
there. Yeah.
The fact that this whole thing is under the guise of Thoros praying, like, may the Lord of Light judge these men for the crimes if he is guilty, or give strength to his sword if he is innocent. It's not about whether he's innocent or guilty. It's whether or not the Lord of Light needs him later. Like, it's like, yeah, he sure as shit is guilty of all that shit you were talking, but we need that motherfucker.
Dang, that's true. Okay, yeah, it's much bigger. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
you got to think about it on the level of God type shit. Yeah, that's nuts.
But I love when Beric falls to the ground and Thoros just stands there like shocked, and then he's like, "Oh my God, by the Lord of Light!" I mean, like he just spits out that fast little prayer, and Sandor falls to the ground to desperately try and extinguish his flaming shield, and Arya Stark grabs a dagger and attempts to kill the Hound while he is down, but Gendry stops her, and as she curses him, Sandor taunts Arya over how the gods prefer him over her dead friend. Damn. However, they're both interrupted as Beric has been revived and is like, oh yeah, check this shit out. And everyone's like, what the fuck? This dude was falling apart a second ago, like 5 seconds ago. It was not a long time. And having won the trial and proven his innocence in the eyes of God, Sandor is allowed to leave. And the Brotherhood had taken all of the gold Sandor had on him to fund their claws, and in lieu of returning it, Beric gives him a promissory note, which will grant payment at the end of the war. And Sandor scoffs at this and throws it to the ground, but some dude says he should be thankful they're letting him leave with his life. And
if I'm the Hound, he has his life in King's Landing and everything and whatever, but like he's been afraid of fire, and I get it, but he chopped a dude in half almost, saw him come back to life, and tell him like, yeah, not today. I think from that moment on, I'm kind of like, I think I'm staying here.
Yeah, right. Well, it has like that effect on somebody.
Yeah, true. This is
Gendry's repairing Beric's armor, and Arya questions why, and we're going to be leaving soon. And Gendry's like, I'm not. I'm going to stay on, work as a smith. They've got some cool shit going on here, man. I like it.
Yeah, and his reasons are like he's always been bossed around. He's always been sold, and just a lower tier. He's never been free. His reasoning's a lot more fair, but also it's probably just he saw a dude come back to life, and he's like, okay, for all of those reasons, plus something's going on here that is
similar to Jorah with Daenerys.
something.
He's like,
yeah.
Watches her walk out of a fire unscathed. He was like, I was already down with you, dog, but now I'm like unquestionably never leaving your side. Like,
yeah, I don't know how you see because like especially being like they talk about it later, like how many times he's come back. I
think that was
like
the sixth. Yeah.
Like you hear about it at first, but you don't see it happen. So you're like, okay, sure, it could just be all stories, whatever. But then you see it happen, and then you hear them talk about it happening, like it's 6 times, like this is the 6th one or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, like wait, like it makes you rethink about it like a whole different way. Like, like just what I don't know. Almost went with him for the character of the episode, but not
like
quite.
I said, I almost went with Macy Williams for the performance because of that, the charging the hound. And then this scene, whenever, Gendry laments that, he'd be serving in the Brotherhood too, but they chose Beric as their leader. They're more like a family. And, Gendry's never had a family. And Arya, like, chokes up and is like, I could be your family. And in response, Gendry's like, nah, you can never be my family. You'd always be my lady. Which isn't true. He's king's blood.
Man. Yeah. That what does he mean by that? You'll only be my lady. Like
as
like
in
just, you're not you're not my blood or like
that's a callback to the fact that, whenever she confessed that she was Arya Stark, he was like, "Oh my god. I've pissed in front of you. I should have called you milady. Like, what are we?" He's like, you could act like you're my family, but I would never be able to call you Arya. I'd never be able to call you by your name. You would always be milady. It would always remind him that he is subservient by comparison.
Yeah, but no. No, he's got that blood in him.
Got that dog in him.
Yeah. And I don't know, he's
is Lord of Storm's End by the end of the show, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's in there. Is he in that? No, maybe not there. Actually, never.
Are you looking at the poster?
Yeah. No. Oh wait. No. Yeah. There's a hammer. He's that's him. I think. Nice. Because I think he gets sent back, right? He like they're about to go fight, but he's the one who goes back.
Yeah. He runs all the way back to the wall and collapses and gets Daenerys to go help them.
That's right. But I think that could be him with the hammer, but I'm not sure. Yeah, he has a shaved head, right? Buzzcut head at that point.
Yes.
Gendry?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sick.
I was going to say though, like the Hound ends up taking that hammer into battle because Gendry doesn't need it to run all the way back. So,
yeah,
there's that fact too. But later that night, Arya looks into the campfire and recites her nightly prayer for the death of her enemies. Thoros says, they plan to bring her to Riverrun to reunite her with her family and, get a nice reward in return for Robb to fund their cause. And Arya's like, so you're ransoming me. I'm a prisoner and you're ransoming me. And Thoros is like, I mean, technically, but don't look at it like that. I suggest looking at it the other way. And they do intend to escort her safely through war-ravaged countryside to her family. And Beric would like to return her for free out of memory for her father, but we really need gold. So like we would, but like we need to. It's not like we're like, we have plenty, we just want more. No, like we need some fucking money, dude. And sorry, and Beric says, that she must be angry with him, but releasing Sandor was the right thing to do as they promised to let him go if he won trial by combat. Arya is still quietly upset as she's now seen many honorable men keep their promises and behave lawfully only to be murdered for it, such as her father and Yoren and et cetera, but she wonders why Beric would want to let Sandor go when he nearly killed him. But Beric insists, he did kill me. I was dead. And Arya's like, how the fuck? What? And again, the shadow looming over this entire episode, Ned Stark, Beric being like, out of my respect for your father. And when Arya goes, do you think you could bring back someone with no head? That shit hurt. That was the line that made me say Macy Williams initially, just because that was really good. That was really good.
Man, I mean, yeah, because before this, I don't know. Resurrection, probably just not a thought on the mind, but then you see that, moment, glimmer of hope, oh, wait a minute, is there any way that this is possible? And it's
I don't think it works like that, child.
Man.
Yeah, that hurt.
What a show. Yeah. Season 1. That happened season 1,
Still
that
looming.
Man, that dude.
That impactful. And this episode, more than any other episode, is he so relevant in 3 different storylines.
Yeah.
And he's dead. That's crazy.
The Honorable Ned.
But they recount all 6 of the times, including this one that he has died. Recent death by trial by combat, impaled on a lance, shot with an arrow. At his 5th death, the Lannisters hanged him for treason and stuck a dagger in his eye, which didn't heal.
Fuckers couldn't decide.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, and then just talking. Yeah, it's just whatever. Came back from that.
Another little detail that might make me consider that the Lord of Light and all of these gods are the same fucking guy, is that Beric dies 7 times. The final time he dies is the 7th time. The 7 gods, 7 hells, all that.
Okay.
I don't know.
There's something there.
There's something there, but
if you're a god, you like to just put your your little numbers everywhere or something. You're playing
this
God.
One's
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah,
I like to have my fun.
This guy, he'll be my champion. He'll die 7 times. Let me just sprinkle his deaths in there.
Egg,
yeah, let me see if they'll figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. But hey, Lord, that's the thing though. Of this watch, the Lord of Light. That's the one I know is there's no doubt.
No doubt.
There's no doubt. But yeah, I don't know. I put sadly, I don't. Yeah, we got no Hodors. So
no Hodors.
Yeah,
no Bran either.
But,
so nothing there. But
I'll put in Arya running at the Hound with a dagger. That's a name on the list. The Hound. It was an attempted kill.
Sure.
Didn't quite work out. But yeah. I'll mark it down just for something.
You did count that for the reason last episode.
I did. She accused the Hound of murder last episode.
But then she charged him. She
actually was going to go through with the action here if she could. If she was not held back, whether she was going to die or not, she was going to go for it.
Going to try. Okay.
I feel like there is a difference.
Okay. Fair enough. But Beric explains that being brought back from the dead carries a heavy toll, as pieces of his memory and who he was before chip away every time. And he says he wouldn't wish it on anyone. And Arya says, I would wish it for my father, because, you're alive. And that's the last of that.
Man. Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess the Lord of Light didn't need honorable old Ned anymore.
Well, he sets it all in motion, that is the action that sets it all in motion.
The kids are where they need to be.
Yep.
I mean, we know where it goes. Arya does do that. Jon does do that. Rob doesn't quite get there. Sansa does, she gets there, but they get there. They're where they're supposed to be. It's a hard road. But they're where they're supposed to be. It's okay. We'll talk about Rob a little later, but
yeah. But on Dragonstone next, King Stannis Baratheon is still deeply depressed after his defeat at the Battle of Blackwater and doesn't have the daily support of the Red Priestess since she left. And most of Stannis' army has been destroyed. The only reason the Lannisters haven't attacked Dragonstone yet is because most of their fleet was destroyed at Blackwater, and they can't yet mount an assault. And with little else to do, Stannis takes the time to visit his wife. And this is where we meet Queen Selyse and later on his daughter, which was very cool. We learned that Queen Selyse is an avid follower of the Lord of Light and really, really likes Melisandre, is completely okay with the fact that Stannis had sex with Melisandre and he bared her a son.
Not really.
But that in her eyes, she says that's like, I think she knows exactly what happened, and she's like, yeah, she bared you a son. Selyse is fucking nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's really sad. Like, she's kept up in a room, it seems, like with her 3 stillborn children.
Yeah.
Like, just in vats.
Yeah. I also don't think anyone's making her do that. You know what I'm saying?
That's also, yeah. True, she did, yeah. Okay.
I don't think anyone's like, well, let's be sure to put these in a vat and put them on the dresser here.
You're right. It is, yeah, she's a little cuckoo.
No, she's a little batshit. And, part of that probably is, the fact that she is kept up in this room, but who knows, maybe because there's a lot to it. It's a complicated relationship. Stannis is by no means a saint or sane by any means. He's got a lot of fucked up shit going on, but you can tell that this shit's been taking a toll on him. Like, he comes to apologize for everything. He's like, dude, I broke a sacred vow. I'm not good. I broke our marriage vows. I did some bad shit. And she's like, no, that's cool. Yeah, that's whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I know. She's like, actually, I know. And I'm actually cool with it and actually glad that it happened, Stannis. And he's like, what the fuck? What? No, like, this is not what okay. Like, I don't know. You could just tell he's like, okay, I guess I'm glad you're not mad at me, but also you probably should. I don't know. He's like, it was, I don't know. Stannis is, I don't know, just a sad character overall.
Just a sad dude, man.
It just, it just kind of just gets the worst, the short end of the stick most of the time. But the double sad here. Yeah.
It eventually evolves to the idea that he's also come to visit his daughter, and the mom, Selyse, very clearly despises her daughter. It's like, oh, you came to see her too. Disgusted, like, and he's like, I would like to see my daughter, and she's like, well, I can't stop you. You're a fucking king, so do what you want, but. I don't know
sort of a little passive aggressive though.
Yeah.
Sort of like, you don't need my permission, but like that's why he came there, to apologize and to be like, I'm going to go see my daughter. Okay. Yeah. Like, so I don't know. It's I feel like a little bit of both.
For sure. But Shireen is alone in her room drawing and singing a song about life under the sea to herself, and is very excited to see her father. And what's interesting about this song is actually, Shireen and Selyse are much larger characters in the books. They are very much so scaled back for this show and its purposes, especially through season 2. They do become a little bit heavier players. Shireen does anyway.
I think isn't she friends with Patchface or whatever in the books or something like it? It's not.
She's friends with the fucking the Jester.
Yeah, I think that's his name, Pat, or
and
something like that.
And the song that she's singing is actually the song that the Jester just repeats.
Yeah. There's something weird going on. Yeah, I remember there was something weird going on with her and her friend, because I was like, I didn't think it was oh my god, Onion Knight. What the fuck is
Davos?
Davos, yeah. I didn't think it was Davos. It didn't feel. I'm like, I remember it for the show, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like the.
And I also haven't gotten much deeper into the book than I did since we started talking about this season. But
yeah, I don't know. I remember there would be something weird going on with her, kind of like the in House of the Dragon that
I know.
Like.
Oh, whoa.
I don't know. It's something about the daughters, There's always like one of those daughters that just kind of seem to sing and talk about bugs and, just bring up random things at times where they don't make sense.
Granted, this little girl is kept in a dungeon
Yeah, it's so sad. Grayscale too. Like,
yeah.
man.
But Stannis wanted to see his daughter and is awkward in expressing any sort of warm emotion towards her. And he's like, "You've grown since I last saw you," and she's just been downstairs, which is kind of devastating too. You know, like we've seen him at Dragonstone hundreds of times.
Yeah, he could have went to go see
Could have
them
just
at any
gone
time.
downstairs at any point. But she says she heard that there was a battle and asks if he won, and he's like, "No, I didn't." And that's what's so like interesting about this interaction is that Stannis very like clear, like what a complicated character that is. Like he's not a good guy clearly, but he feels bad about the guy that he is. You know, like he recognizes his faults, knows he shouldn't be the way he is, but can't stop being that way, which is an odd balance to strike. And I think that this guy plays it extremely well, you know, the way he's like, "No, we didn't win." And he's like being kind of sweet. And it's like, that's just a weird light to cast him in. But Shireen is slightly let down, but asks if the Onion Knight came back as well. And he's like, "Nope, he's a traitor. You got to forget about him. Fuck him. And best to put him out of your mind." And she's like, "Motherfucker." So later that night, she sneaks on down to the dungeon and finds the cell of Sir Onion Knight. And he wakes up and tells her she shouldn't be there. But she explains that the fat guard Bert is on duty, who usually drinks a lot of wine and sleeps through his watch. And she asks if it's true that he's a traitor, and he says, "Yeah, I disobeyed your father." And she's like, "Nah, I don't give a fuck. You're my buddy."
Yeah. Nope, you must get bored down here.
Yeah.
And
I need you to
I'm
read.
not okay with that. Yep.
Yeah. You ought to read some. This is about Aegon the Conqueror and his dragons. You know, the Targaryens built Dragonstone, where this castle we live in. I think that's pretty cool. And Davos is like, yeah, that's really, really sweet of you, but I'm afraid it's wasted on me. And she's like, "What do you mean by that?" He's like, "Well, I can't read the words, my lady." And Shireen's like, "Oh shit, no problem. Let me just teach you. I'll come down when Fat Guard Bert's on duty, and we'll be cool." And Davos is like, "You really shouldn't do that." And she's like, "What's the worst they can do? Lock us in cells?" And they're both like,
hey, yeah. And then
I love
just
that.
immediately get into it. Like, and this right here, AEG makes the egg sound. You know, like, I don't know. It was just, I don't even know where to begin. You know, she's like, "Oh, that's easy. Just right at the beginning." Like, I don't know. It's just so cute.
I just love them, dude. And that's a devastating storyline that just hurts my fucking soul. But it boosts Davos in a way that's like, oh, that's one of the best characters in this fucking show. Like,
does Davos?
Dude.
Davos makes it out, right? He's on the. Yeah. What's his position?
Master of ships.
Ships. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so no.
But due to the fact that Shireen is later burned at the stake, Davos holds a deep hatred in his heart for the Red Woman, and vows to kill her if she ever comes back. And then he sees her for the first time again at the Battle of Winterfell, walks straight up to her, is ready to murder her, and she's like, "Don't worry, you ain't got to do shit. I'm gonna be dead in the morning." So
I forgot. I kind of forgot about that. I didn't know that he kind of walked up to her.
Oh yeah, he's like,
did that.
He's ready to fucking kill her.
And then so that's why she just takes off the necklace and is like, "All right, whatever." Like my job
next
is done.
morning.
Like,
yeah,
wow.
Like she because that's before the battle. And she says that, and he's kind of like, "Okay, I guess that's good enough. We'll see." Because I mean, if you don't die tomorrow morning, I'm gonna kill your ass. So
that dude, yeah.
But
hell yeah.
Nevertheless, that ends the story there, and we head to King's Landing, where Queen Regent Cersei Lannister encounters Littlefinger in a courtyard and tells him she fears that the Tyrells do not have their best interests at heart, but her father will not listen. And therefore, she asks if he will use his spies to try and find out what they're up to, because he has a good working relationship with them after brokering the Lannister-Tyrell allegiance. And he agrees, but Cersei warns him that this had better produce more results than when she previously asked him to find Arya Stark. And he's like, "Note taken. I will do my best." And in the castle garden, Sansa and Marjorie watch her brother Sir Loras spar with the squire, and Sansa confidently remarks on his fighting ability and inquires when she's going to marry his ass. And
so when's that going to happen,
yeah,
Marjorie? Like
as soon as possible, please. And as per the Tyrell plot, to keep her out of the hands of Baelish and or the Lannisters. And Marjorie replies that, she will plant the seed of the idea after she and Joffrey are married. And Sansa's like, okay, I don't really buy that Joffrey's going to be down for that, but Marjorie is quite confident he will do it to please her once she is his wife. And after the match, Sir Loris's new squire, Oliver, flirts with him. And they kind of lock eyes. They both put the eyebrow up, and they're both like, okay, yeah, let's go. And they head back to Loris's chambers where they get to fucking. And as they finish, Loris mentions that he is engaged to be married, a fact that Oliver, a spy, passes on to his real master, Littlefinger.
I guess you just talk after you that's
you just get to talking.
Sadly, I guess Littlefinger, he's got a good business for some secrets. It's a good way to get people to talk.
How did you know that? Yeah. That whole conversation was like, oh, I know.
I
know.
Come on, yeah. It was. I don't know, man.
That was another great scene, and Oliver pops up a few more times, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty sure him and Oberyn, played by Pedro Pascal, fuck at some point in this show, which is also just another fun little.
I forget Pedro. Yeah, just kind of comes in and they just kind of partake.
Pedro Pascal just fucks around. That's potentially the greatest character in this show ever, as far as just being ridiculous levels of cool.
I think whenever he comes in, it's just he will get the character nod no matter what. If he pops up in one scene, just if it's a single shot,
it's almost cheating. I'm probably just gonna show my bias hard there. But a short time later, Littlefinger meets with Sansa, offering her a place on his ship that will take him from the capital to the Vale of the Arryn. And we've been forgetting that she denies this in favor of a marriage to Loris, which is why we were always like, does he, that doesn't happen for a fucking season, Does he take her? Mm-hmm. And he does eventually, but it's just not now. And Sansa practices lying for a change and tells him that they should wait until after Joffrey's wedding, primarily because she fears for his safety if the plan fails. And a master manipulator, Littlefinger, is clearly suspicious of her motives, but doesn't press the matter for the moment. Instead, he says he is touched for her concern and insists that she call him Peter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to really get you at the end of this. That's really why he's like, I'm glad.
One motive.
So. I'm glad you're worried for me, but if you really knew what my motive was, maybe you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Yeah, no doubt. But
yeah. Man, poor Sansa. Just being, no matter, the Loris situation is good. It's the best of the situations for sure, but still is just
still being used as a piece
completely.
On board.
Which sucks. But
yeah, all the while though, Tyrion Lannister is engaged in a meeting with Olenna Tyrell, with the upcoming royal wedding shaping up to be quite the expensive affair, and Tyrion is concerned about the cost. And Olenna points out, oh, you're asking me for help with money, are you? It's not like we've provided the city with soldiers and provisions
off here. Don't
fucking food and
lecture
water
me about money. We've given you 1,000,000 bushels of wheat, 1,000,000 bushels of this, 1,000,000 dues of that.
Exact
yeah,
number.
She's like, don't come at me. And that's like this scene. For a character, I think Olenna just actually gets it here because Tyrion is my dude, and I love Tyrion, but man, did she put Tyrion in the dirt right here. We've been
talking about the fast talkers, Varys, Tyrion, Littlefinger. None of them can hang when Lady Olenna Tyrell's there.
Yep, because Tyrion was like,
keep up.
Tyrion was just oh shit, oh fuck, and then Olenna's the one that's just like
even formally make a request. She's like, yeah, I'll pay for half. And
are we done here?
Hell yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
He's like, she's like, did I really climb all these steps for that? Wow. All right, whatever. Half. See you later. I gotta go eat
Yeah,
my figs. Or where are my figs? Yeah, she's like,
yeah, where are my figs? I really got to shit.
Yeah, Padre, go get my figs. I gotta take my shit soon. Yeah, like, oh my god, Olenna Tyrell just
Incredible character, dude. Incredible character.
She's taking it for me.
I love that.
That's
her second character nod this season alone for between the two of us. So that's she's deserving for sure. But later on, Tyrion heads to the small council chamber to report the success of this interaction with his father Tywin, only to find Cersei present as well. And again, what an incredible fucking scene between Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey, and just to sprinkle something on top of it. How about a little Charles dance for you?
Oh, yeah.
Toss them around. Absolutely immaculate.
You have Cersei sitting there all like waiting for this to happen. She's like, yes, I can't wait to see this, you know? Like, oh yeah, that look on her face. Oh,
and her eyebrow lifted,
like,
you know?
She's so ready.
She can't hold it back. She is so smug. She is so satisfied. And, you know, Tywin explains the Tyrells are plotting to wed Sansa to Sir Loras, and Tyrion's like, dope. I don't care.
Okay.
Is she really the king of the North? As far as I'm concerned, Robb Stark is alive and well. And Tywin explains, you know, the Karstarks have deserted. Robb's days are numbered.
They know.
I think he knows a few more reasons why Robb's days are numbered, but he's keeping that to himself. And Theon Greyjoy murdered Robb's younger brothers at Winterfell, according to common knowledge. And it makes Sansa Robb's heir. If he dies, rule of Winterfell in the North goes to her and any man she marries, which Tywin has no intention of letting the Tyrells get their hands on. And therein, Tyrion questions if it is wise to offend their allies by refusing the match. And Tywin points out that as a plot against them, the Tyrells' plan is, by definition, a secret. Thus, the Lannisters can't be said to be refusing anything. He also notes that the Tyrells won't go through with their plan until after Joffrey's wedding, which means they need to act first. Namely, by finding Sansa a husband. And after a moment, realization dawns on Tyrion as he realizes he's talking about him. And Tyrion tries to protest, pointing out that Joffrey has made Sansa's life a living hell since the day he had her father executed, and to force Tyrion on her is just plain fucking cruel, even by Tywin's standards. And Tywin questions if Tyrion plans to mistreat Sansa, and asserts that he is not concerned with the girl's happiness, and neither should his son. And Tyrion protests that Sansa is a child, but Cersei counters she has flowered and is a woman now. We have definitely talked about it, I can assure you of this. And Tyrion's like, no. And Tywin points out that recently he's been complaining about how he wasn't rewarded for his actions at the Battle of Blackwater, and the heiress to the North seems like a suitable reward. And you can tell Tywin gets satisfaction out of this one. You know, like, he doesn't let it show that he's like happy to be punishing someone a lot, but like he even gets a little bit of the Cersei smugness going on his face. It's a little curl of the lip, a little bit of an eyebrow raise.
Cause then he's like, my children, you know, you, what have you done? You know, finally you're going to start doing something for me. He gets, you know, he knows he's dropping a bomb, you know, on him. And he like, it's, I don't know. It's everything's coming up wheelhouse. Cause then he gets, you know, to drop a bomb on Cersei as well. Yeah. You know, it's in the,
but before that, you know, he's like, he points out that it is long past time Tyrion was wed, and angered Tyrion points out that he was wed. You know, have you forgotten that? And Tywin returns his son's hateful glare and growls back that he remembers all too well, like he's Taylor Swift. And Cersei gloats over the matter, but her smug attitude quickly evaporates when her father is like, and Cersei will wed Sir Loras. And that's when Tyrion goes, oh, like his facial change, like, oh yes, look at that.
Like, yeah, now I get my moment.
That's when Cersei goes, she just shakes her head and goes, no, that's not happening. And I was like, again, the way Lena Headey can just she can be in one scene, and wow, does she do fucking good in it.
Yeah.
The way she points out, like, I will not do that again. You will not make me. And Tywin points out that Cersei is still fertile. She needs to marry and, quote, breed. And Cersei protests as she is queen regent and not a brood mare. And Tywin angrily roars back that she is his daughter and will do as she is told, and she will marry Loras, and in doing so, put an end to what Tywin calls the disgusting rumors Stannis has been spreading about her and Jaime.
Yeah, so I guess Tywin sees it as disgusting. So like that's very interesting that it's not like
it's not familial.
By now, yeah. It's just a them thing. And now I'm really wondering how much Jaime is really in on it. Like, or if it's just been like the only one he's ever, like if it's, because I guess maybe Brienne is just maybe the first to give him like second thoughts, maybe. And like up until then, it's been like kind of.
And I would say that he hasn't even necessarily given second thoughts about Brienne yet. That I think there's something about Jaime and Brienne where Jaime's never had romantic feelings for a woman besides Cersei, and he's also never had platonic friendship with a woman. And as soon as he starts to gain an ounce of trust in anything, he confuses it for romance. And it eventually does evolve into that. But like at the beginning, I don't think he realizes that what he's feeling is just like friendly admiration, not necessarily sexual attraction or romantic attraction.
Yeah. So I think he's just like he's trying to see Cersei in Brienne at first as well.
Oh yeah.
And like just like kind of mask it that way, and it's still Cersei sort of thing. But then it slowly turns into it just being Brienne. So yeah, I think it does take a little time, and it's not there yet.
But yeah, regardless, I'm passionately of the mind Jaime loved Cersei more than Cersei ever loved Jaime, and Cersei is simply incapable of loving anyone who doesn't resemble herself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't seem that it was the best relationship. It just for one, it's brother and sister,
for obvious reasons.
So that's there's one
automatically unhealthy that way, but then there are layers to the relationship in and of itself that are also quite unhealthy. Nevertheless, Tywin refuses to listen and storms out in disgust, raging that the pair have disgraced the Lannister name for far too long. And Cersei slowly shifts her gaze toward Tyrion to gauge his reaction to her distress, but he is too glum about his own predicament. And the last shot this leaves us on with like the Lannister lion up in the corner and Cersei and Tyrion sitting at that table, I was like, oh yeah, that's fire. That's just so fucking good.
It's nuts to me that the end of the episode, the thing that gets you to be like, oh, whatever. It's not Daenerys having her big moment freeing the slaves of their names. It's not King Robb beheading someone. It's just a dad telling their kids, you have to marry these people.
Right.
But it is still such a big moment. It is still like, what a play. Like, holy shit, that's gonna change the fucking game. And it's nuts that's the end of the episode. Well, all of that happened before. And that's, I don't know. That's why the show is just different. Like it's just a dad being like, you're gonna marry her, and you're gonna marry him, and you're gonna like it. And that's it. That's the end. Like, that's the end of the episode. And you're supposed to be like, oh, I'm watching the next episode now. And it is true. Like, it makes me want to be like, well, now I need to know what the fuck happens. It's it's insane. Like, what a way to end like an episode. It's just but Charles Dance, Lena Headey, and Peter Dinklage just
acting their asses off in a room together.
Oh,
fucking incredible. But with that, I think we ought to throw a rating at this bad boy. Am I correct?
I think we're ready for it. Oh yeah.
All right. Enjoyment wise, how are we feeling about this one?
It's pretty stacked. I'm not like at a 10. I don't think it's
No, what was
it's a
last episode?
great episode. Last episode was a 10 for enjoyment.
Yeah. I don't think I'm quite on the level that one got me to, but I'm
But
not far off.
I
Like,
think it's a 9 or above.
mhm.
I like it. Like maybe just a 9, kind of flat out. It's just it was top tier the whole time. It was just really good the whole time, but not just. I don't know. Yeah, I guess last episode just kind of had some bigger moments. You had Daenerys really going off there. We had things that we thought were happening at the finale, happening in that episode. So it's just and it was firing at all cylinders. But this, I mean, they were still firing. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think
I don't
I think a 9's fair. I think a 9's fair.
That puts it at the same level as episode 2 this season. Dark Wings, Dark Words.
That was a good episode.
If we do
You'll
give it
hear
a 9,
no complaints out of me for that one. But yeah, all right. Then we haven't done away with genre yet, right? For this one.
No, I don't think. Yeah, for Thrones.
Yeah, well, I mean, in keeping with the entirety of season 3, it's still a 10.
Yeah, I don't think they haven't stopped. The last time it hasn't been a 10 was episode 5 of season 2. Season 1, like the last half was all 10s, and then the last half of season 2 was all 10s, but then all of these have been 10s so far, and I don't think it's going to change.
The formula is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. And then critically, I think this one's damn good.
Yeah.
I think it's every bit as well shot and potentially every bit as well written as last episode. In fact, I struggle to find something that I think makes this better or worse than last episode. What did we give last episode?
A 9.5 was last episode.
I think it's that good. I think it was pretty tightly written. I think the choice to it's a very conscious choice to have Ned Stark looming over the entire episode because we don't get that every week, and for it to happen in 3 separate storylines where Ned Stark is mentioned by name or just kind of looming over there like a presence that's threatening everything. That's pretty strong.
We really had I think the first kind of breakout performance for Maisie Williams, really she did really well. Rob, Richard Madden did really well. Nicolaj, oh my God, just everyone was doing so well. The writing was great visually. The Riverland shots with Rob in the rain, all of that was just
shots,
so good. Yeah, fuck cave and flame cave.
Fucking flame cave.
Fire and ice, dude. Song of Fire. Oh, dude, that's kind of lit. Didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
One's in the north, very cold. Hot spring though, but
there you go.
But yeah,
I'm with you. I think I'm confident it's the same level as last week.
Yeah. Well, if we do give it a 9.5, that's a 9.5 for the episode, averaging.
Pretty fucking strong.
Which is 3rd place of the season so far. Last episode was a 9.83. Then it goes to from the first episode 9. No. This is the second episode of the season actually in 2nd place, right behind last episode. Which I think makes sense.
Man.
Just wasn't quite last episode, but damn close.
I fuck with that.
So
I think that's a good place to come down at 95%.
Oh man, now we got the climb next. Holy shit!
Season 3 is strong.
Holy
dude.
shit!
This is a fucking season right here. But with that, I think we'll conclude this episode of Winter is Blooming. If you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom.pod where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and the like. For $3 a month, you can support this podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there, so that'll be a big, big old help. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. That's a huge help for us. If you were fucking with me and Joe today, remember to return every week for Winter is Blooming, a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast. We're, like we said, halfway through season 3, and we've still got 4.5 seasons to go. 5.5 seasons to go. We got a lot of heavy lifting to do left, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to keep going, and it's showing no signs of slowing up. Our comic book movie journey through film continues, and this Friday marks Spider-Man, which I'm very excited about. We'll be joined by our homie Michael Mealberger for the second time. Great episode there, and for all the 2000s babies, it's a big one. It's a formative one. The Mandalorian concludes this Wednesday, and we will be discussing it here on Rebellion's Bloom. What will be the final episode of Rebellion's Bloom for a while. That'll be this Wednesday. The Mandalorian season 3 finale. Go ahead and check that out. And then we're starting the Ahsoka-cast the Wednesday after that, where we'll be taking a journey through the character of Ahsoka Tano and formative moments on her. So that's a lot in the gun for us. We got a lot coming up, so y'all better be ready for that. With that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom, and help the Kingslayer!